You will not claim him today.
Welcome to another review. This is going to be a review for Middle-earth: Shadow of War. But before I begin this review, I would like to take a second to say RIP to Michael Foyer, the executive producer of Monolith's Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War.
You serve the bright Lord now.
Middle-earth: Shadow of War is a story that takes place in the Lord of the Rings lore. It takes place between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, somewhere right in the middle. Shadow of War takes place right after the events of Shadow of Mordor. You build a power ring under the guise of a character named Talon, and he is possessed by a spirit of an elf lord named Celebrimbor, who actually developed the rings. So Shadow of War is pretty much basically all about the meta. This game has so much content. Let me get that out of the way now before I even start. I was not able to complete the game upon doing a review. However, I dumped about 20 hours into the game, only reaching Act 2 and unlocking most of the features needed to get a clear understanding of the meta of the game is when I decided to bring this review to you. So I played it for 2 days straight, about 10 hours apiece each day. And I noticed that there was a lot of speculation about the loot boxes. Now, I've actually got to a point where they suggested I check out loot boxes, and I did. Now, I won't get into the loot box situation in this review in particular, but what I will say is you can play the game without them. However, let's deal with the elephant in the room and get straight into the situation here. You will be putting a lot of hours into this game if you don't. Simply put, loot crates are a way to enhance the gameplay and give you faster results. If you want long-term gameplay and a lot of content, this game has it. If you feel like you want to speed up the process, then you may want to look into these loot crates. Now, there's a lot of, is it good, is it bad? I'm totally against loot crates, and I don't have a problem saying that in this review. However, I can say, loot crates aside, the game can be completely played without. So let's get into the game itself right now and talk about it in this review, and I will do a separate video talking about the loot crates. The graphics on the PS4 Pro version are actually slightly a bit disappointing. The game is running and targeting 30 frames. Now, I am happy to say that there's 2 settings inside of the graphical settings for the Pro to either target and favor resolution or favor performance. When you pick resolution, you will notice things like pop-in and things of that nature. When you favor quality, you will not see as much pop-ins. However, the game pretty much runs stably at 30 frames, but you can tell that for them to reach this in such an open world area, the graphics took a bit of a hit here. I am disappointed that Shadow of Mordor looks absolutely way better in my opinion as far as textures and lighting and graphics as far as the enhancement brought to Shadow of Mordor. Now, Shadow of War, on the other hand, it does have HDR, however, it doesn't look as crispy. The edges are very pixelated, and I don't know if that's due to the fact that they were targeting 30 frames or due to the fact that this game is just simply made this way. I'm a little bit disappointed because I expected better graphics in the game. However, the graphics are not terrible. They just don't seem to be 4K. Now, upon research, I could not get an estimation on what the resolution is, but if I had to say, I would say it's targeting somewhere between 1200 and 1440p. But I know for a fact it's definitely not 4K, and that the 30 frame mark is not dipping or doing anything crazy when you're in an open world or you have a lot of stuff going on in the game. So performance wise, the game is performing pretty well. There's no hiccups there. However, all of the jaggies and pixelated edges in the game do bother me a little bit. So I am looking forward to playing this on PC and Xbox One X to see if there's any difference there when the time comes. So for that, graphics, I'm going to give the graphics probably a 6 out of 10 if I had to rate them, because I'm a little bit disappointed that these don't look as good as Shadow of Mordor did. However, they're not bad, and they're definitely not running at 1080p. However, they're looking very close to that. Now, if you know anything about me, you know what's coming next. You know I'm going to talk about the mechanics, the controls. Man, oh man, was this an issue for this game. I mean, there were a lot of times that I was having trouble playing this game, and I was having a lot of difficulty. And this is one of my main complaints about this game, and one of the reasons I'm actually going to say that I'm very mad that they did this, and I hope they patch and fix this. The mechanics are way too clunky in this game. I mean, the first Shadow of Mordor game did not have the problem that this one has. And this is due to the fact that there's a lot more content, there's a lot more world, there's a lot more terrain. And I'm happy for that. But they need to fix the clunkiness. There were times that I was trying to fight enemies and I was doing things like the camera was pushing me against the wall. I'm trying to climb the wall, and instead of it giving me the climb mechanic button, action command prompt, it was giving me the roll, because they put so many actions on one button, and at certain times the game just simply gets confused and you will suffer and die. Now, the problem with dying in this game, of course, is you don't actually die, you respawn. But what happens is, if you die to an enemy who is probably giving you a little bit of trouble, he now becomes more powered up from killing you, and he gets promoted and he becomes harder to kill. And that kind of sucks when the simple thing is you died because the controller killed you. So this is a big problem for me. You're going to find yourself in a lot of tight situations where you want to escape and you can't because the controller is stopping you. This is something that I'm disappointed in seeing in this game, because this is something very similar to Assassin's Creed games, and it was one of the reasons I hate parkour systems in this current generation of games. There's a lot of times when you're going to try to climb, and instead of climbing, you're going to be rolling because that command is the same button. And you have to put the controller down, leave it still, and actually wait. And then you can get the command to climb. And by the time you're getting hit with arrows, slashed, stomped, murdered, and massacred. So the controls for this game are very disgusting and disturbing. I have to be brutally honest about this, because you're going to have a lot of times in this game where the game is extremely difficult, and not because of the AI difficulty, but because of the controller. So please, Warner Brother, fix this, please. Please, please, please. If anybody out there is listening, please fix that. That's one of the terrible things that I see in this game. So Monolith, please patch the controls. Now, outside of that, we have the same fighting mechanic. Great thing. These mechanics are the best. These are the best mechanics in any third-person action-adventure game that I could get my hands on. I actually have no complaint about the fighting mechanics. The action, when it's on, it's on. However, like I said, if you're looking to run or get fancy, be careful, because the environment really affects the fluidity of the controls, and that's a problem. So, with that being said, I'm going to have to go 5 out of 10 on the controls, because there's so many deductions I have to take off. There were so many times that I actually found myself in a bad situation where I died, or I had a real problem and was seriously frustrated and aggravated because the controller simply was not working with me. Now, what made this annoying is that it's something you don't see in other Shadow of Mordor games. You didn't see it in the first one. So please, Monolith, please fix that. So overall, here's my final thoughts on Shadow of War. If you like Shadow of Mordor, this is more of it. This is Shadow of War, the sequel. It's everything you would expect. However, if you're into the whole loot crate, worry and concern thing, then maybe you may want to skip the game. Does it affect the game itself? No, it does not. Does it affect what you enjoy about the game? No, it does not. The game is Shadow of War. Everything that I expected, tons of content, good graphics, great gameplay. However, the mechanics are a drawback. At times they're frustrating, they're annoying. However, as you unlock skill points and proceed through the skill tree, this becomes a little bit more easier to do as you unlock abilities that can avoid these obstacles that are cumbersome in the beginning of the game. So one can look at it as challenging, or one can look at it as cumbersome. It's really on your perspective of positive and negative here. This game is enjoyable. Definitely something I'm glad I purchased. It was not what I expected, totally, utterly, and honestly. Now, I would say definitely rent the game. However, there's a lot of content. And due to the fact that the game is enjoyable, has a lot of content, I would recommend you actually go out and buy it. It depends on if you like Shadow of Mordor. Now, this is not the exact same game, so when you put it into the disc tray or you download it and you click on the icon to start the game up, please understand, do not go into this game thinking that this is going to be Shadow of Mordor on steroids, because it is not. It is a different game. It feels different, it plays different. However, you know it's Shadow of Mordor, it just doesn't play like it did. It took a big departure from their open worlds, or much more open. However, the game actually guides you through the open world, so it doesn't feel as open as they may advertise it to be. Now, due to the fact that there's so much content in the game and I did not get a chance to play it, most of it, maybe half of it at that, I can't say, oh, the game's terrible or bad. However, the story is interesting. It carries over. It's everything you expected. It's a sequel. It's true to life to what it is, Lord of the Rings lore. They introduced new races and creeds and creatures in this game, and it made it interesting. It's pretty much an advancement upon what you saw. So if you go into it with the mindset of you enjoy Shadow of Mordor, then you definitely will like this. However, there is a stiff warning here. If you did not like Shadow of Mordor, then there's no way I could see you possibly liking Shadow of War. It didn't change enough to make it a game that you would enjoy if you didn't enjoy the first one. However, if you're truly a fan of the series, then you should have no problem picking this game up. I do recommend this as a buy, as I enjoyed it and I'm going to continue to enjoy it, and I can't wait to see what the PC version has to offer. However, the loot crate situation will be getting discussed in another video prior to this one, because this is just based on if you pay for the game and buy it, will you enjoy it? This was a should you buy review of Shadow of War. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know and I will address them. Of course, hit the subscribe button if you have it, and hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button to get notifications whenever I post other reviews like this. Also, let me know what other games you may want to see me review in the future. I'm out of here. Peace.
On the way to being free.